Alright, hello everybody. Today we're going to do some more IELTS speaking. And we're going to continue with some of the part ones that we have left off. So let's do the first type, no, the third type that you will be seeing in your IELTS speaking exam, which is the important question. So, usually this question would be in the sort of, is something important to you? So yeah. For example, are computers important to you? Is it important to do something? Maybe is it important to have holidays, for example, as in the examples below? So, now, the main way you need to the main way to paraphrase is you need to paraphrase the word important because the word important is the entirety of this section of IELTS speaking part one. So you need to find ways to replace the word important. Again, I really suggest you guys to learn a lot of these paraphrasing words that I will be sending into the Zalo group chat so that you guys can do well on part one. Because part one, part two, and part three are all about paraphrasing the question that they give you and then giving the answer after that. So let's have some examples here. For example, something is the key for somebody. So for example, I could say that my phone is the key for myself, right? Because I use my phone every day, something like that. Okay, or I could say that the phone is necessary for me to function every day. That is also a valid choice of words as well. So yeah. Um, you could also say you can also use some of these other words as well. Again, I'll be sending these in the group chat. Here are some better, not really better, but some more advanced words that some examiners might understand. And if you can implement them, that's really good. But I don't expect you guys to fully do it in the actual exam. So now, um, so now the way to answer this is, of course, you have to paraphrase the question, and now you need to explain why this question or whatever they asked you is important to you. So, for example, if you let's take a question from here, okay? So let's say you do reading is important for you. Why is reading important for you? Does reading help you focus? Does reading help you relax? What does reading do for you that you like? You need to explain to the examiner why you like reading. Now, you need to elaborate a lot on the reason why in this important type of question, because that's the only way you'll be able to answer it. You can't give filler answers like the other ones where you can use the 5 W's. In this one, you can't use the 5 W's. You need to explain why. You need to explain why you love reading in that question. So, for example, I also have a lot of important, a lot of words that will be good for specific topics. I'll be also studying that if you want to learn that as well. Um, so let's have an example here. So let's have an example here. All right. So example one is it important to have regular exercise? Now, um, now, how I would answer this is as follows. Yes, I believe that regular exercise is indispensable in someone's life. I believe that doing consistent daily exercise helps you improve your physical health and also improving your hand-eye coordination and many other important skills that will be used in life. You will also be less prone to diseases and also have a stronger immune system in your life if you were to do exercise often. So that would be a decent answer to the question below. Yeah, so that's going to be a decent part one answer for this important type of question. I have paraphrased the question. I've said yes, and I've explained why I find it important. Now, if you say no, which is a valid option, yes, you could say no in these questions. It's okay. However, you need to explain to them why it's not important. So, for example, if I say exercise isn't important, then you have to explain to the examiner why exercise isn't important. If I say computers aren't important, I have to explain why computers aren't important to somebody's life. Whenever you do these important questions, you have to explain why you have that take. So the easiest way I would say is to follow the crowd because there's more arguments that you can make. However, if you have very good reasoning as to why you don't want to follow the crowd, I advise you to take that route, as they also want to see some creative ideas coming from the test takers. So yeah, and unless you have many a really creative and strong idea, I believe it's best for you to just follow what most people would say if they were asked these questions normally. Okay? All right. Oh, sorry, that was my bad. Anyways, let's continue. All right, let's continue. All right, all right, all right. Um, so as you can see, these are also some other examples. Now, would anybody like to try to answer the second example? Are computers important to you?
Um, no, because they're not more important than I'm cooking.
All right. Decent answer. I do see the reasoning, but could you please add the paraphrase? And could you please elaborate more? I'll give you some time to think. Toby, you can answer.
So I firmly believe that computers aren't that important because for information, we could just read books or read newspapers to find out the information. Um, and furthermore, I firmly believe that computers harm our eyesight. So I firmly believe that not only are computers not really that important, but are harmful to humans.
All right. Great answer. I do have some suggestion for you. You should use firmly believe a little bit less. You should only use it once in your speech. Maybe twice is acceptable, but in the span of 30 seconds, you usually want to use around one of a specific term. And you also need to find a way to paraphrase the word important. Paraphrasing is a really important part of IELTS speaking, part 1 and part 2 and part 3, basically IELTS speaking in general, because they want to see how you're able to basically, how do I say this? They want to see how you're able to like react to their question without having to copy their question immediately. Um, so yeah, that's a really good answer. Thank you. Um, yeah. So, so yeah, that's really it for the important one. The important one. Again, if anybody wants, I will be sending this into the group chat. And yeah, again, I would really want to emphasize the importance of adding idioms. So even though some of these might not have idioms, it's best if you try to implement some of them into your speech, your speeches, so that the examiner can mark you higher scores. Because idioms and saying lexical range would really help with increasing your score. Best not you guys need to try to not stutter as much. You should try to only study when you're having thoughts, as I said, in the coherence cohesion, because yeah, that's the most important part to improving in IELTS speaking as well as pronunciation. But I can't really help you guys in pronunciation. So yeah. Anyways, so we have the fourth type, which is difficult. So, this type would usually ask you if something is difficult. For example, is it difficult to climb a mountain? Is it difficult to run long distances? Is it difficult to play a musical instrument, etc., etc.? So, you have two ways of answering this. You can answer it as yes, it is difficult, and no, it isn't difficult. It really depends on the question and your personal opinion. again, there's no right answers in IELTS speaking. Just how you answer it is the most important part. So we need to have we need to apply these 2 steps. So first of all, as normally, again, I know it's a bit annoying, but you need to paraphrase the question, okay? You need to paraphrase the question again. So the first step is to re-paraphrase the question. And the question here is, I believe, or I think, that whatever they want you to ask is using one of these adverbs, and then then you use these adjectives. Again, let's use an example. Okay, I think that playing a musical instrument is fairly straightforward for someone. Okay, that could be a good paraphrasing. You could you can answer anything else. That's also okay. You could say that. You could also say that I think that playing a musical instrument is considerably difficult for someone. That's also a valid answer as well. Yeah, it depends on your personal opinion. So yeah. Now, as you can see, you would usually connect these 2 words to each other. You would usually connect one of these adverbs and one of these adjectives together to get your paraphrase sentence and no the answers to this type of question. So yeah, you should try to follow the sentence structure, which is a subject plus a to be verb plus an adverb and then an adjective. All right? Yeah. So, actually, you could use this in part 2 and part 3 as well. This language is applicable to all 3 parts. However, it is very easy to do in part 1, and you could sneak it into part 2 and part 3. So this sentence structure is kind of important. I will be sending you guys the sentence structure in the Zali group chat because this is kind of important for your guys' IELTS speaking. So yeah. Alright, these are some idioms. As I've already said, idioms are really important. So for example, you could say it's a piece of cake. You could call it child's play, walk in the park. Usually I would say a piece of cake or a breeze, as these 2 are more commonly used compared to the others and are the most formal, but also while also being not too the most formal while not being too formal, but also not being too informal. So it's like in the middle of the idioms. Same with and there's also the difficult ones. You could technically say no walk in the park. But again, yeah, these two, I think walking the park, you could also memorize that. It's pretty usable on both sides. But yeah, the difficult one is not as hard to remember because they're not as iconic. But you can still remember one or two of these. All right. So now you need to now the proper way to answer a difficult question is um you need to elaborate how all right, you need to elaborate that, oh, it's hard in the beginning, but it becomes easy. This question is actually really, this type of difficult question, no, the type of question that we're dealing with right now is actually really versatile. So you could say it's hard from beginning to end. You could say it's easy from beginning to end. You could say that it goes from easy to hard. You could say that it's not that easy, but not that hard. You can say a lot of things, but still it will be valid as long as you describe the process and you describe why you believe it is hard or easy or not that hard or easy to you. As long as you describe what happens to you, it will be good. It will work. So for example, we could use some words like in the beginning. It might seem hard to do whatever we're trying to answer, right? You can answer it like that. So yeah. You can also say when I started doing something, it was quite challenging. You need to connect these 2 together. When I got into doing something, it was relatively frustrating. Okay, or for the first few whatever amount. It was I was struggled with. I had no idea how to. These you can connect with each other, kind of like Lego bricks. Actually, these are really versatile. So as long as you remember one or two of these, you can connect these two things with each other really nicely. So yeah, again, a lot of a lot of these things are more about vocabulary. So I will be sending a huge part of the vocabulary to you guys so that you guys could study and hopefully get a really nice score in the IELTS test. I will be reminding this many times because it is really important. Vocabulary is one of the most important parts of IELTS speaking, actually, in my opinion. Other than the coherence, cohesion. All right. So now you need to explain the second part of the answer. Now the second part of the answer, you could say, you could say after a while, after something, you should need to say, but after something, okay? But after is a really strong term that you will use in this, in as of right now. So try to use those a bit more than the others. All right. So, um, yeah. All right. So as you can see, we have some examples for part one and part two. I would like to say here that this part two answer is not good. Okay, guys? Please do not answer this short in part two. Part two you should answer part two a bit longer. Now, now let's see what the sample answer is and what I would give as an answer to this part. So, the sample answer that they have given is to the answer to the question, do you think cooking is difficult? They answered, at first, cooking was quite frustrating for me because I didn't know how to use spices or follow recipes properly. But after a few weeks of helping my mom in the kitchen, it became much easier and it now feels like a piece of cake. Okay, so as you can see, they have used a lot of idioms here, and they have used a lot of complex sentence structures, which is a really good way to answer an IELTS speaking question. Now, if I need to make an improv answer, I wouldn't use as much idioms, but it would be as follows. I still believe to this day that cooking, the entire process of cooking is extremely difficult. Even though some could say that it is a walk in the park, I believe that when I started doing this, this experience, I struggled a lot with timing and measuring and such. And to this day, due to my impatience, I still suffer from these issues. And I believe that cooking is really hard for people like me, and I believe that it could probably be really hard for other people as well due to the amount of precision that's needed to do in this subject. So yeah, as you can see, I've answered that if it's hard for me, I said yes, and I've elaborated as to why cooking was hard. I said it's too precise for me. I'm not a patient human being, and therefore it's not really for me. Um, so yeah, that's the sample answer that I would give for this part. Again, you guys can give your own personal opinion for the question like this. Now, would anybody like to answer the question, is it difficult to learn another language? Um, by the way, it's okay if you don't add your personal experience. However, it's recommended to. Yeah, you can answer.
So I think that it's quite difficult to learn a new language because you would have to deal with the new types of grammar and new vocabulary and how you sound when you speak. So I think it's fairly hard to learn a new language.
All right. That's a half decent answer. Really good reasoning. I see that you struggle a lot with finding vocabulary words, which is completely okay for a new speaker. It's completely okay for English speakers, I believe. For Vietnamese speakers, I've seen you guys are really good at making ideas, but not really the paraphrasing part. I've seen in many speeches, IELTS speaking speeches. So yeah, I'll again, I'll show you guys, I'll show you guys the vocabulary that I've done in the group chat, and also post a YouTube video. So if any of you guys want to see it, I will be posting it in a bit. So yeah. All right. Would anybody else like to answer? Is it difficult to learn another language? I would like to see somebody else answer this before I would like to continue. So somebody please answer this question for me. Oh yeah. If you guys want to answer, you guys don't have to turn on your you guys don't have to raise your hand. Just please turn on your microphone and be wary of whoever was the last person that turned on their microphone. So yeah. Would anybody like to answer this question? Is it difficult to learn another language? Anyone? Would anybody like to answer this question? Would anybody here like to do a question on is it difficult to learn another language? I'll give you guys some time to answer to think of an answer as well. But yeah, would anybody like to answer this question for me? Anyone? Would anybody here like to answer this question for me? Anyone? Um, Anybody here? All right. Okay. Does anybody here want to answer this question, guys? We need to speak up. We need to speak up. This is a huge issue in the class right now. I want more people to speak up as it helps you guys learn as well. I'm not the one learning here, so yeah. Could you guys please speak up? All right. I'll see about this issue later. Anyways, so yeah, there are some good phrases you could use here. You could use to get to grips with something, which is a really, really good one. This one is basically saying to get used to something. Yeah. This is a really good one. I'm pretty sure I used this once in my exam before, but yeah, it is a really good idiom to use. So yeah, um, as you can see, this type of question is pretty easy to answer. As you can see, it's only two steps. Remember, part one has two steps usually. First step, you would say the first step you would say is to paraphrase the question that they've asked and give your opinion, and then the second question you would say is to answer whatever the answer why. Usually, why would be the best question. However, you could ask the five W's too. Why is the best one though? Um, you can also implement the five W's into this question as well. Like if you start, for example, if you learn a language, for example, you can say who you learned your language with. I could say I learned a language with a teacher or with a friend. I don't know. So yeah, you can still answer the five W's even when you are doing this type of question. It's not as versatile, but just remember it's really easy to implement this. So, does anybody here like to answer one of these questions below? Anyone? Anybody like
So
to?
Caroline,
Yes, Lucy. Which one do you like to answer?
I would like to answer is it difficult to learn a new sport?
All right. Yeah.
I
What?
think learning a new sport is it's quite difficult though because you didn't have some experience while doing this sport, but you change into another sport, making that you change these changes may infinitely think that it may have some time for you to start the new sport.
All right. Yeah, that is a pretty decent answer to this question. You did accomplish two things. You did accomplish the two steps that were required. Um, uh, yes, whoever that username is, what do you want to say?
So like I want to answer question number three. Is it difficult to make a new friend? So I think it overall depends if you are um if what types of friends you aim to like make. So like firstly it depends on whether if you're an introvert or an extrovert. So yes, so like you could be more like more focused on like um maybe you're just like you just like focusing on making friends and maybe you focusing on playing video games. So secondly, I think that um if you have like the same hobbies and same like sub favorite subjects as new people, then I think it would be much easier to make friends. But overall, if you just met with a random stranger that doesn't share any hobbies or anything with you in common, so I think it would be very difficult to make them friends. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Hmm. All right. It's a tiny bit too long for part one. Usually, you want the maximum for your speech is 1 minute, and that speech is a bit longer than 1 minute. But yeah, that is a decent answer. You did elaborate as to why it's a bit difficult to make a new friend, and you also described it depends on the friend. Is it somebody that you're used to, or is it somebody that's new? Am I correct? Hopefully I am. But yeah, that's a really good answer. That's really detailed. Hopefully, you can shorten the answer to a part one length question. No answer. But yeah, that's a really, really great answer, you guys. Thank you so much. Anyways, we're gonna move to type five, which is prefer. So, usually this type of question would be, would you prefer X to Y? Would you like something more than the other? So, for example, would you prefer eating out or cooking at home, for example? This etc. So usually the word prefer would be in these questions. It could be an if an or, and like a would you rather, something like that type of question. But yeah, usually these questions are really easy to identify. They will give you two options. You need to say what option you like the most. But yeah, so the first part, you need to establish what you like. You need to tell the examiner what you like first. That's all they want to hear at the first part. You would usually say, I prefer whatever rather than. Um, Usually there isn't a lot of replacements for the word prefer, so you could use prefer again. Okay. Choose isn't as good. It's okay, but it just doesn't sound that smooth. So yeah, you might need to reuse words again. Unfortunately, I know. But yeah. Um. Anyways, you can also say something is the better choice for me in comparison with something else. That is also a really valid way to answer. As I say, I would go if I had to pick between whatever or whatever. You would usually try to say if I had to pick between or given the choice between, because these two are really really nice to answer with. Okay, and then you would say I'd go for or I'd opt for, etc. I would say I'd opt for is the better option here, cause I'd go for makes you seem a little bit too informal, as the expression has said. So I would say you would choose opt for, cause that's the most like least. That's like it's in between formal and informal. So it's not too formal to the point where you sound like a company, but it's not too informal where you sound like you're just talking to a friend. Um, to an examiner, you can't treat them like a friend entirely. You could treat them as a friend, but think of them as like the first friend, like the first meeting between you guys. Unless, yeah, treat them as a first meeting. You would never really say too informal stuff to the friend that you met on the first day, right? So yeah, you can also say I tend to choose blah 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 over. That's also valid. I would also approve of this one. This one is pretty good to use. And yeah, I favorite and have a preference. Usually, you also need to remember that the over in most of these are needed. You need to say over, because if it doesn't, it's grammatically inaccurate, and you might lose some points for this. So yeah, be sure to be grammatically accurate while doing your exam. So yeah. Yeah, I that's all of the vocabulary that you would probably need for the first part. Now you can also use some more informal conversational expressions as well. Again, I don't really suggest using them, but if you want to, that's okay. I'm okay. That's really okay with you guys. But yeah, you should I would generally choose these more neutral and polite phrases because again, you're talking to an examiner, okay? All right. So, so really, the way to answer preferred, since I actually don't have I forgot to take the image of preferred, that's my bad. So basically, the way that you would answer preferred questions is you need to explain why you prefer that more than the other person. You need to explain, oh, I prefer doing this more than that because doing this gives me more use. So for example, right? If I had a question such as, do you prefer eating out or cooking at home? I would need to say, yeah. If I had the option to pick, oh, sorry. All right. So for example, right? Oh, give me a second. I need to drink some water real quick. All right. All right. So for example, right? I would say that if I had the choice between eating out or cooking at home, I'd rather choose cooking at home than eating out, for example. And then I would explain why I like cooking at home than eating out. So yeah, you need to explain why you like something more or that you don't like the other thing. So for example, you could either say that cooking at home is better than eating out, or you can say that eating out is worse than cooking at home. So there's two ways you can approach this. A is you say the one that you chose is better, or B is that you say the one that you didn't choose is worse. So either one works as long as it establishes why you did answer it. So for example, let's use the same question: do you prefer eating out or cooking at home? So, given a choice between eating out or cooking at home, I'd rather choose cooking at home than eating out. Eating out usually has a lot of complications, especially in Vietnam, due to the limited safety guidelines during food stalls and street stalls outside. And I've seen my parents suffer from a lot of stomach aches from eating street food, eating out, basically. So I believe that cooking at home is a much safer alternative, as you can control the ingredients that you can get, and also usually cooking at home supposed to provide tastier food, because you know what's best for you. You can customize your food, etc. And therefore, I believe that cooking at home is ultimately the better option. So yeah, that would be a sample answer. Would anybody like to answer the second one? Do you prefer writing letters or sending mails? Would anybody like to answer?
Me,
So like
I
Um.
prefer I prefer writing an
Okay.
email because
Okay,
it
guys.
can send much faster.
All right. Okay. Let's do this one time. Once for each person. Okay. So, Xander, you can answer first. Xander, you can answer first. What's your answer, please?
So, like, my answer is, I think I would go for email, like choosing emails because I think they are much more efficient than writing mails. Furthermore, I think it's completely free, and emails you have to buy stamps and like you have to buy um paper or mails just to like send a mail to another person. So I prefer uh emails to mails.
All right. Yeah, pretty good
Well,
answer. Pretty good answer
I
actually.
also prefer.
Yeah,
Well,
sure, you
I
can
also
answer.
prefer milk.
Yeah,
I
oh,
milk.
could you?
Well, milk sends much faster, and I don't want to waste my collection of stamps just like send out an mail. Well, mail is completely free. You can use it anywhere. Just make sure you have Wi-Fi, and you can type anywhere. How many? Send photo to much faster. Well, send. Well, it will be no waste to destroy my collection of stamps just to send a mail.
All right, that's actually a really good answer. Thank you so much. Now, Lucy, you can answer now. What is your answer?
I think that I choose milk because if I choose milk, if I read back over and over again with that later, maybe I can know what mistake I have made. I can know which grammar I've been conjunction with the pronunciation of it. It is may cost money to buy stamps, though, because if we writing mail, sometimes like we make mistake, the we can read the back again, or at that time we are learning how to write more carefully and better than when we are writing email.
That's a really good answer, actually. Thank you so much. Yeah. Linda, would you like to give us an answer? Or I guess not. All right. I think the meeting's gonna close really soon. So, if you guys don't mind, I'll send a new link into the group chat and y'all join, okay? Is that okay with you guys? Um, yeah,
Yes.
so, all right. Give me a second. I need to make a new Zoom meeting. Yeah. Class hasn't ended